As the crisp, chilly air of fall and winter settle in, I find myself yearning for those cozy, nostalgic gaming experiences that defined my childhood. I remember holiday breaks spent on the couch with my older brother, cozy under warm blankets and enchanted by whatever new things we had gotten as gifts. Released in 2024 in early access by NPC Studio, Fields of Mistria is a love letter to the media of the 90s and 2000s. With its nostalgic graphics and gameplay, the game captures the cozy charm of classic farming sims, delivering the perfect experience for those looking to unwind and embrace the soothing rhythm of rural life. Fields of Mistria offers a comforting escape that feels like a warm embrace. It is exactly the kind of game that I crave for this time of year, offering a sense of calm and nostalgia that is hard to find elsewhere. The gameplay mechanics in Fields of Mistria has a few standout features that I really enjoy. One of the main features is the concept of breeding livestock. I love that breeding different color and patterned animals creates rare and unique pelt and feather colorations. Another thing that I really enjoy about Fields of Mistria is the fact that within the farming system itself, you don't have to stop to refill the watering can every 5 seconds. The watering can upgrades and upgrades to the tools in general typically is looking to expand their range, and with the watering can especially, this is something that feels very intuitive, as one of the biggest annoyances within farming sims is having to constantly stop what you're doing to go refill the watering can to continue watering your crops. It cuts into the day quite a bit. While that might be more realistic, I prefer not having to think about that when playing my escape from reality. The other game mechanic that I adore that we'll deep dive in just a little bit is actually the NPC interactions with both you as a character and each other. It is something that I love seeing in games like this. We're talking about the art style and atmosphere of Fields of Mistria next. The art style is stunning. Vibrant colors, charming character designs, all of those create inviting and nostalgic atmosphere. The cute pixel style, which is very reminiscent of the 90s and early 2000s, especially when it comes to how games looked. The character art also mirrors the time period for the 90s and 2000s in cartoons and animes like Sailor Moon and Pokemon, and in video game media like Harvest Moon. It's really clear that this game draws a lot of inspiration from its predecessors, and I think it displays that inspiration in a really beautifully tactful way. Now, the really big thing that I want to talk about that made me fall in love with Fields of Mistria is the community and the story. The community aspect of Fields of Mistria is so wonderfully developed for being in early access. Interacting with the villagers really adds a ton of depth to the game. Each character has their own backstory, and building relationships with all of the characters makes the world feel like it's living and breathing. One of my favorite things is the event that happens weekly in Fields of Mistria, which is called Friday Night at the Inn. The fact that the NPCs will have conversations with each other, and then when you walk up and talk to them, they invite you into it, they include you into the conversation. You actually have dialogue options sometimes where you can choose a response. And as the characters go from place to place, their dialogue changes and what they have to say about each other and the town and what they're looking at and what they're doing. All of that evolves. It feels like they're actually commenting on the world around them and how it's changing. Something that happens in all games, because it's just inevitable, is repetitive dialogue. But something that I feel Fields of Mistria does incredibly well is making repetitive dialogue not feel repetitive and redundant. Repetitive dialogue happens where you expect it. It happens in casual greetings as an NPC walks by, and while of course there is going to be repetition of dialogue, it is so few and far between and spaced out in such a way that you don't notice by the time it happens. The biggest thing for me as to why this works is because you can actually talk to the NPCs more than once a day. Talking to the NPCs once a day or twice a day tends to be the thing that most farming sims cap you at. But because you can talk to them and their dialogue changes based on the area that they're in, I feel like they eliminate the annoyance and lack of desire to wanting to talk to the NPCs repetitively. Because the game is still in early access, there are limitations on the festivals and the events that are actually in the game right now. And as the game goes through its updates, that will change. But one of the things is that the few that they have in right now have so much dialogue and conversation that the NPCs have around the event itself, before the event and after the event, that I can only imagine that adding more festivals throughout the entire year is just going to deepen the way that the world feels so alive and how the community feels so interconnected. Now, I have a slightly potentially controversial opinion where I really like Fields of Mistria, and I like it better than Stardew Valley. The things I love about farming sims are the farming and the livestock. I love those elements. When it comes to the day-to-day activities, I like the repetition. Those are the things that I find enjoyable and relaxing, and what makes farming sims to me so cozy. The other thing that I love is the villagers in any kind of game. I love the NPCs. I feel like Fields of Mistria really honed in those things, and it just has made one of the best farming sim games in my opinion. The key thing for me is that I'm looking for my games provide a sense of community and depth to the world. I want to immerse myself into the world, and I want to feel a connection to all of the characters. It's a lot of the reason why Baldur's Gate 3 I consider a cozy game, because the connection that you make with the characters is so in-depth, and because the interactions in the world feel like they impact the world. It's not just something that happens and then no one talks about it or no one acknowledges it and you move on. And I think a lot of this stems from the fact that I started my escapism as a reader. I always want my games to sweep up my imagination and attention the way that books do. I want to fall into this world and live fully in it, even if it's only for a few hours. Where the valley has its beauty, in this case, I much prefer the view of the fields. So to wrap everything up nicely, Fields of Mistria is a delightful escape filled with farming and community and nostalgic visuals. It's a game that encourages you to slow down and enjoy its world. I think that this is a great addition to my ever-growing list of cozy comfort games. Thank you so much for joining me as I gushed about Fields of Mistria and how much I have just loved living in its world. Buy the game and play it. It is just an amazing escape and just so much fun. I would love to hear your thoughts on Fields of Mistria down below. Have you played it? Do you agree that it's a nice, fun addition to cozy games? Do you feel like it's a little overrated? Well, let me know what you think. Until next time.